Joining us is ESPN.com women's basketball bracketologist Charlie Creme. And Charlie, I want to know what has impressed you the most about this year's Longhorn squad.
Wow, that's a tough question to answer. I'm impressed by quite a few things. I think mainly, if I could narrow it down to one or possibly two things, is balance. But balance, in a lot of different ways. Obviously, they have plenty of scoring balance. They've got a lot of experience, youth balance. They can beat you in a lot of different ways. They've got an inside attack. I think the most recent game against Iowa State was a good example of they can pummel people down low with Boyette, and they can shoot threes to beat people, or they can do both in the same game like they did against Iowa State. And I think balance, but balance with some subsets to that, all across the board in a lot of different areas.
Texas has been demolishing teams this year, winning by an average margin of victory of 22 points. How much does that factor into how you view them?
Well, it's been, I would view them as maybe the most impressive team so far this year, with taking into account what the expectations were at the beginning of the season. UConn's obviously the most impressive team. They have been for quite some time, but their expectations were to be the best team and be the most impressive team. Texas, there were some expectations this year, certainly, but I don't know that anybody would have expected undefeated at this point. And right now, I would say the favorite in the Big 12. So impressive all the way around, and right now, not looking like a team that's going to be very easy for anybody to beat.
We've talked about their season up to this point. What's your biggest concern for the Horns over the next few months?
It would maybe being in their heads a little too much based on what happened last year. Last year they got off to that great start in the non-conference as well, and things just sort of eroded with some injuries in the second half of the season, and it was a struggle to get into the NCAA tournament. I don't think that's going to be an issue this year, but I think maybe being able to separate from last year and having that happen. And so far, I think they've already done that with a good start in Big 12 play. But I think that would be the thing I would look for, because last year, frankly, the undefeated run at the beginning of the season surprised me a little bit, but just as much of a surprise was how quickly they kind of fell back to the pack and then really dropping through the seeding as I went through the second half of the season. So just trying to avoid that.
And Charlie, I know it's still somewhat early, but if you had to make a prediction as of right now, how far do you expect this Texas team to go?
Well, I see them as of today as a number one seed. So I think if you extrapolate that to the end of the year, you would say, okay, well, that's a Final Four team. And I firmly believe that they're capable of being in a Final Four, and it would really come down to what's that matchup in the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight as to whether they actually could fulfill that or not. But I see them as very capable of being a Final Four team. I think if they continue to play the way they're playing, the record will take care of itself, and they'll be in great position to be a number one seed, which would ultimately help that whatever those matchups might be. So I think the ceiling is absolutely getting to Indianapolis, and I wouldn't say the season would be a disappointment if they fell short of that, but I do think that they're going to be in that grouping of teams where we could say, yes, that is definitely a capable Final Four team.
All right, good stuff. Thanks again, Charlie. Charlie Creme, ESPN.com's women's basketball bracketologist.